Because to teach medicine without teaching compassion is to treat the hand and forget the heart. And when we forget the heart, medicine begins to lose its pulse.
Thank you, Professor D. Chan. So may I call on Professor Maglonzo for her counter?
Doctor, I will now give my rebuttal. I will now give my rebuttal for competence.
Excited.
Professor Maglonzo argues that competence must come from compassion. That skill saves lives, not sentiment. But true compassion cannot exist. True competence cannot exist without compassion. Competence is not only about what a doctor can do, it's about why and for whom they do it. Medicine was never meant to be a cold science of precision. It is a moral practice of healing. A surgeon may hold a scalpel with perfect steadiness, but without compassion, may forget that beneath every incision lies a person, not just a procedure. Compassion is not the opposite of competence. It is its essence, the conscience that gives skill its direction and humanity. If our curriculum rewards only precision, but not compassion, we risk producing physicians who can diagnose correctly, but connect poorly. Empathy training, as shown in medical education journals, enhances diagnostic accuracy and patient satisfaction, proving that compassion strengthens, not softens, clinical performance. Yes, competence saves lives, but compassion gives those lives dignity and meaning. And that is the heart of medicine, the art of healing, not just the science of cure. Thank you.
Great rebuttal. Thank you, Professor D. Chan. So may I call on Professor Maglonzo for her counter rebuttal for compassion.
Professor D. Chan, you claim compassion is the essence of competence. I contend, rather, that competence is the vessel through which compassion finds its purpose. Without competence, compassion is sentiment. Admirable, yes, but ineffectual. Yes, a physician must feel, but feeling alone does not save lives. We can save lives through the surgeon's steady hand, the physician's accurate judgment, the researcher's disciplined mind. The moral worth of compassion depends upon the competence that it gives, because it is the one that gives form, it gives direction, and also the consequences. We must remember, in the hierarchy of healing, compassion may light the way, but competence walks the path. One gives medicine its soul, the other gives its strength. Therefore, while compassion ennobles the practice, it is competence that sustains it. Without competence, even the most compassionate heart cannot heal. Thank you.
Thank you to our very passionate, great debaters, Professor Maglonzo and D. Chan. So at this point, let us pause for a quick reflection on the theme compassion versus competence. And may I invite one of our faculty members to share a thought on what part of this discussion made you rethink or reflect on your own practice of teaching. I see you. Okay.
Obviously, I cannot disagree with my two mentors. And so I will say they go hand in hand, Master Ivan Villaspin. But because in the light of provocative thoughts, I always believe that it is better to love than to be right.
Wow, quotable quotes. Okay. So now let's talk about our third theme, grades versus grief. May I call on Professor D. Chan to present her argument for the theme, grades.
Fellow educators, we live in an age that often mistrusts measurement. Grades are called stressful, unfair, and even obsolete. Yet I stand before you today to argue that grades are not the enemy of learning. They are its compass. When used wisely, grades do more than quantify achievement. They honor effort, build accountability, and shape character. From admission to graduation, grades remain essential threads in the fabric of medical education. Undergraduate grades are the most significant predictor of medical school admission, with early academic performance almost as predictive as the final GPA. Once in medical school, grades continue to matter. Residency program directors consistently rank clerkship grades and class standing among the top criteria for residency selection. In the classroom and the clinic, grades serve a higher purpose. They measure mastery. They provide a standardized language for evaluating how well a student grasps complex knowledge and skills. Objective structured clinical exams, or OSCEs, and written examinations show significant relationship with later clinical performance. Used wisely, grading helps educators identify those at risk before poor performance reaches the bedside. Grades are not just numbers, they are narratives. Behind every mark lies a story of long nights, repeated failures, and quiet victories. Grades teach students to face feedback, not flee from it. To see assessment not as judgment, but as guidance. In a profession where lives depend on precision, compassion, and competence, shouldn't our standards be precise too? Abolishing grades does not remove pressure. It removes clarity. It silences one of education's oldest conversation, the dialogue between effort and outcome. When grading is fair, transparent, and humane, it cultivates confidence. It motivates the struggling student to rise, the diligent one to persist, and the entire class to uphold the integrity of medicine. So let us not discard grades. Let us redeem them. Because grades, when done right, are not about ranking people, they are about revealing potential. They are not barriers to compassion, they are bridges to growth. The goal is not grades versus grit. It is grades for growth. The kind of growth that turns learners into professionals and professionals into healers. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor D. Chan. So I may call again on Professor Maglonzo to present her case for grit and proceed directly with your rebuttal on grades.
In the world of medicine, success is not defined by the number on a transcript. It is defined by the strength of one's resolve, and that's grit. Angela Duckworth defined grit as passion and sustained persistence toward long-term goals. And in medicine, that persistence, that grit is the very engine that drives a physician's journey. Becoming a doctor is not a sprint measured by exams alone. It's a marathon. A marathon, remember that, marked by endurance, and you have experienced that. Research confidently shows that medical students with higher levels of grit perform better over time. Not because they score higher on one test, but because they don't quit when the test gets harder. Grades can measure knowledge, but they cannot measure courage. They cannot measure the ability to comfort a grieving family. They cannot measure the dedication it takes to research tirelessly for a rare diagnosis. They cannot capture the resilience needed to fight for a patient's treatment through endless bureaucracy. Because the real test of a physician is not written on paper. It's lived in the ward, in the hospital. A perfect GPA cannot heal burnout. It cannot guarantee compassion under pressure. But grit, that quiet, steady determination to improve, that is what sustains a doctor through every challenge, every setback, every long night on call. And now, I would like to give my rebuttal to Dr. Dichan. Professor Dichan, you say grades is a compass, but even the best compass is useless if that traveler has no will to walk. Grades can measure direction, yes, but grit determines distance. Grades may honor achievement, but grit sustains it. A number cannot capture resilience after failure or compassion under pressure. Yet, those are the qualities that define great physicians. The Bansal and Pagida study proves motivation predicts performance, but motivation itself is not born from grades. It's born from purpose and persistence. Grades may offer clarity, but they can also narrow the focus. When students chase scores instead of mastery, we train perfectionists, but not problem solvers. True education is not about ranking. It's about rising. Grit turns setbacks into strength, feedback into fuel, and effort into excellence long after the transcript fades. In medicine, it's not the score that saves a life, it's the strength to keep learning when no one is grading you. Thank you.
Thank you. Mukhang kailangan uminom kayo ng tubig muna. Can you give them water? Medyo makati na yung throat niya eh. So after this, I will call on Professor D. Chan to give her counter rebuttal for grit.
Professor Maglonzo, you speak of grit as the force that keeps one walking. But without a compass, even the most determined traveler can lose their way. Grit gives stamina, yes, but grades give direction. In medicine, direction can mean the difference between healing and harm. Resilience is not born in the absence of evaluation, but it in response to it. As Dweck reminds us, and I quote, "Effort without feedback leads to stagnation," end quote. Grades, when done right, don't suppress grit, they sharpen it. They turn effort into excellence, persistence into progress. Without benchmarks, we risk not mastery, but mediocrity. Students who feel ready, but are not yet safe for patient care. Grit may carry you forward, but grades ensure you're walking the right way. Thank you.
Okay? So thank you, Professors D. Chan and Maglonzo. So again, let's take a quick moment to pause and reflect on these two themes, grades versus grit. I'd like to ask a medical student, ang daming nyo dyan eh, oh? No? In the audience, yeah. So what resonates, this is the question, what resonates profoundly with your own experience? I'll call my favorite student here. Ah, you're my favorite. Come here.
Yes po, Doc. So for me personally, I prioritize grit more since it shows your resilience and how you can be steadfast throughout hardships. And through this, you can really show and how you can go the distance in the end. It will really show the result of your efforts.
Grit ang pinili niya kasi na-challenge siya sa grades. Okay, so we're moving on now to our fourth theme. So I'd like to call on Professor Maglonzo to present her argument for workload.
Workload, not wellness, is the true engine of excellence, innovation, and progress. Now, let's be clear from the start. Workload does not mean being unwell. It's not about exhaustion. It's about endurance. It means embracing meaningful challenge, guided by purpose, and a challenge that we want to be sustained for healthy coping. Real clinical competence is forged by challenging sustained practice under support. And there are researches that supports this. Heavy real workload creates desirable difficulties that improves long-term learning. And some stressors are challenge stressors only that increase motivation and learning and not just harm. Workload builds resilience and competence. Handling demanding responsibilities develops discipline, focus, and problem-solving skills. No wellness seminar can replace. As the saying goes, pressure creates diamonds. Workload needs innovation and progress. History proves it. Scientists, artists, entrepreneurs, from Marie Curie to Elon Musk, they advanced humanity by preserving and prioritizing purpose over comfort. If our predecessors have not chosen that, we will not have vaccines, we will not have all these technological innovations, we will not have these different digital platforms that we have now. And they are all part of the workload that were done by our predecessors. Now, wellness is important, but wellness without workload lacks meaning. Viktor Frankl's theory of meaning shows us that the fulfillment arises not from comfort, but from purposeful struggle. Too much focus on competencies, relaxation, can lead to complacency. And there will be loss of drive. But it will be done the other way around. Workload did it. Thank you.
Maraming salamat po, Professor Maglonzo. So, Professor D. Chan, you may now present your side on wellness and proceed directly with your rebuttal on workload.
Wellness in medical education is not a luxury. It is not a soft ideal or a modern indulgence. It is an evidence-based necessity, the foundation that sustains learning, performance, and humanity in the practice of medicine. For too long, wellness has been treated as peripheral, something we fit between exams or celebrate during Wellness Week. But the truth is clear. Wellness must be institutionalized, not improvised. When wellness is woven throughout the curriculum, modeled by the faculty, supported by systems, and measured like any other learning outcome, it becomes transformative. It tells our students, you matter, not only for what you know, but for who you are while learning it. And wellness is not about yoga sessions or free snacks in the lounge. It is structured, measurable, and deeply practical. It builds self-awareness, teamwork, coping skills, and moral endurance, the very life skills that sustain a lifetime in clinical service. A student who feels seen performs better. A team that feels supported works better. Even small interventions, reflection sessions, or sleep hygiene workshops can reduce burnout dramatically. Small changes save careers. Small changes save lives. But as we go further, resilience is personal. Wellness is collective. It's not about teaching students to survive broken system. It's about creating systems worth surviving. A physician running on empty cannot deliver safe, compassionate care. Patient safety begins with physician well-being, not as privilege, but as professionalism in action. Because excellence without wellness is exhaustion, but excellence with wellness is sustainability. And that is how we keep the heart of medicine beating strong. I will now give my rebuttal for workload. Professor Maglonzo calls workload the engine of excellence, and even diamonds crack under wrong pressure. Medicine is not a sprint towards exhaustion, it is a lifelong vocation. When we glorify relentless work, we mistake endurance for excellence and suffering for strength. Wellness is not the opposite of hard work. It is what makes hard work sustainable. West et al. Showed that physician burnout increases medical errors and erodes sympathy, outcomes no profession should tolerate. Wellness doesn't weaken resilience, it builds it. A review in Postgrad Medical Journal found wellness programs reduce burnout by 30% and improve teamwork. That's not softness, that's strategy. Workload may ignite progress, but wellness sustains it. Because the true engine of excellence in medicine is not exhaustion. It is endurance through care. Thank you.
Thank you. Professor Maglonzo, your counter-rebuttal on wellness.
Professor Dichan warns that even diamond cracks under pressure. But let's remember, diamonds don't form without it. We're not glorifying exhaustion. We're defending purposeful challenge. Workload isn't overwork. It's the discipline that forges competence and mastery. Expertise requires extended, purposeful practice on high-level tasks, not short, not low-intensity exposure. Reducing workload can reduce the quote-unquote deliberate practice, opportunities that produce skilled clinicians. Medicine will always demand endurance. You can teach resilience through comfort. You build it through responsibility, through pressure that matters. A balanced life, therefore, is not the absence of workload. It's the mastery of it. True balance isn't found in avoiding work. It's found in thriving through it. In medicine, it's not the comfort that saves lives. It's the courage to carry the load. So yes, wellness sustains, but workload transforms. It's not the comfort that cures, but competence forged under challenge. Workload is not the enemy of wellness, but it is the engine of excellence. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you to our debaters. Again, let's take a quick audience pulse. Hindi to planted. just to see where the audience is leaning, I want you to show your hands. Again to you, medical clerks. No? Alin po ba ang mas matimbang sa inyo sa pag-aaral ng medisina? Wellness po ba o workload? Wellness po ba o workload? Maaari bang itaas yung mga kamay nyo? Pwede na rin sumali yung non-medical. Ano ang mas matimbang sa pag-aaral sa medisina? Hindi pala yung non-medicine. Wellness po ba o well-being mo o ang workload? Hindi ko mabilang. Pakitaas po ang kamay. Wellness. Workload. Sabi na script ko, it seems there is a balance. Walang balance. Okay? So, salamat po sa inyo. We are for our fifth and final theme, which is burnout versus breakthrough. Okay? I'd like to call on Professor D. Chan to deliver her argument for the theme burnout.
Burnout is often spoken as failure, the breaking point of a weary student, a tired intern, a disillusioned physician. But what if burnout is not defeat? What if it is data, the most honest feedback our educational systems will ever receive? Burnout tells us where the system is breaking, not the student. It illuminates the cracks in our culture, the overload of expectation, the quiet erosion of empathy that happens when performance is valued more than purpose. When we listen, truly listen, to those who are burned out, we gain insight. Burnout becomes a diagnostic tool. It shows us which structure must change, which supports must strengthen, and which values must be reclaimed. As Zerby and Shanafelt remind us, every reform that reshaped medical education from duty are limits to resilience curricula began with recognizing suffering, not hiding it. Burnout, when acknowledged, is not a shame to conceal, but a signal to transform. It teaches resilience, empathy, and emotional regulation. And it teaches institutions humility to design systems that nurture, not drain. When we respond to burnout with belonging, by building collegiality, connection, and compassion, we do more than reduce fatigue. We restore meaning to the work. Yes, burnout hurts, but recovery builds grit, the deep strength that turns exhaustion into endurance, frustration into focus, and fatigue into wisdom. So let's not dismiss burnout as a failure of individuals, but embrace it as a feedback from a system ready for reform. Because burnout is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of transformation. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Professor Maglonzo, it's your turn to present your case for breakthrough and to be followed by your rebuttal for burnout.
Today, we face a pivotal question for the future of medicine. Will we continue down the path of burnout, or will we choose breakthrough? For decades, medical education has glorified endurance. The sleepless nights, the relentless schedules, the quiet belief that exhaustion is excellent. However, that belief has come to a cost. And are we willing to bear the cost? The time has come to change, not by pushing harder, but by teaching smarter. And that change is breakthrough. A breakthrough in medical education means re-engineering how we teach and learn to make mastery more efficient, more personalized, and more humane. And it is not lowering the bar, but tailoring, practicing, and teaching how to challenge difficulties and coping with that. When students learn to adapt, to reflect, to self-regulate, they excel. Research shows they're less likely to burn out if they turn it to cope with every challenge. Academic adaptability was strongly negatively correlated with burnout. And there are studies also on higher scores in the Master Adaptive Learners model, significantly less likely to experience burnout and more resilience overall. And this is my rebuttal for Dr. D. Chan. No? So, Dr. D. Chan, you mentioned that burnout teaches us where systems fail. And yes, burnout tells us something. We shouldn't have to suffer to learn, because the future of medicine will not be written by those who burn out, but by those who break through. That's why, what should be our choice? It is breakthrough.
Salamat. Salamat. So for our final counter rebuttal, I'd like to call on Dr. D. Chan, your counter rebuttal on breakthrough.
Professor Maglonzo says we shouldn't have to suffer to learn, and I agree. But the truth is, we already are. Burnout isn't invited, it's here. It's not glorification of pain, it's confrontation with truth. And only by facing the truth can transformation begin. Every reform we now celebrate, resilience training, adaptive learning, mental health support, exists because burnout spoke first. It was the lived pain of students and physicians that forced the system to listen. As LOA and Masters note, adaptive learning arose from decades of burnout research. So burnout is not the opposite of breakthrough. It is its evolution. We don't celebrate burnout. We study it, learn from it, and let it make us wiser and kinder. Because medicine's greatest progress comes not from comfort, but from the courage to rebuild after breaking. Thank you.
Thank you once again, Professor D. Chan and Professor Maglonzo, for that thoughtful and inspiring exchange. You have captured the essence of this final theme, that even in burnout, there's always space for breakthrough. You did not just debate ideas, you brought to life the real tensions that shape how we teach, learn, and live medicine today. Now, let me wrap up and share a few reflections on what we have learned from this meaningful discussion and audience engagements. I will debate with myself. Tradition is not the enemy of change. It's the foundation that gives transformation its strength. Hindi kalaban ang tradisyon ng pagbabago. Siya ang pinaghuhugutan ng lakas para magpatuloy ang pagbabago. Competence may save the life, but compassion saves the person. Hindi sapat ang galing lang. Kailangan may malasakit din kasi buhay ng tao ang hawak natin. While grades may set the standard, it is grit, yung quiet tiyaga that sustains us in the long run. Sa totoong buhay, yung tuloy-tuloy na tiyaga ang magpapatatag sa doktor. And yes, wellness must always balance workload. Excellence that leads to burnout is not success. It's a warning that something in the system in our university must change. Kasi ang burned out na doktor, walang future sa serbisyo. By commissioning this debate and structuring it around these real tensions, the UST Faculty of Medicine and Surgery shows leadership as a pioneering medical school, one that dares to face these issues head-on and weave them into our teaching and training. That's how true innovation begins. And through it all, we stay faithful to our mission to form Tomasian physicians who are committed to excellence, compassionate in care, and competent in practice. Before I end, I want to express my heartfelt thanks to Dean Lourdes Maglonzo for entrusting me with this role, for conceiving this creative and courageous idea, and for allowing me to express musically, mamaya, the 5 themes we have explored today. And so, to close on a lighter and more heartfelt note, let me share something out of the box, a short 80-second song that captures the essence of this debate. Arranged with my friend Dr. Mondel Rosario, Medicine, Class 1982, set to the beautiful melody of Ray Valera's Kahit Maputi Na Ang Buko, which I sang in my 70th birthday 1 month ago. Sir, Audio Tech, please cue the -1. The lyrics will be projected on the screen. You may silently sing. Nagsimula sa tanong na, nasaan ba? Hindi ko marinig. Can we pakiulit lang. Sorry, Father. Nagsimula sa tanong na, saan ba? Saan tayo tutungo? Transformation ang turo, pero tradition ang ugat ko. Sa bawat diagnosis, dapat magtagpo puso't isip. Competence, passion, concern ang tanging totoo. Grit over grades ang tiyaga, pero wellness not workload ang paninindigan. Hindi na tayo magsasuffer ng burnout. Breakthrough ang ating kailangan. You're in good hands with Metrobank. Maraming salamat po. Back to you, Dr. Sita De Castro. Maraming salamat po.
How can anyone top that? No? So pagbigyan nyo na po ako when I say after that friendly debate, having a visionary na academic official who's actually the mastermind of this one, and the university supporting our mission and vision, plus our friendly colleagues from Metrobank, I think everyone would agree when I say that this is the reason why we are the biggest, the brightest, and the best. No, I was in awe watching the former chairs of the medical education department of the USFMS, and both again one that's a current pedagogical lead and a former pedagogical lead, plus active clinicians, no? So we are truly the biggest, the brightest, and the best, no? But again, it's a friendly debate po, But no one can really top Dr. Villaspin, my professor since 1992. pwede na po natin siyang extend as host for, di ba, Doctor? For the next Metrobank Foundation Professorial Chair. So, after that friendly debate, the merits of tradition and transformation, who is really the winner? May winner po ba? I think the winner is not one side or the other, but it's the synthesis of transformation and tradition. So thank you very much, Professors Mimi Chan and Professor Irene Maglonzo, and the best associate professor, Dr. Ivan Villasmin. We would like to end the lectures, the academic forum for today, with a heartfelt singing. Ngayon parang ang yabang-yabang ko po lalong kantahin ang hymn of the university. Kindly all stand to sing the Santo Tomas hymn. Kindly all be seated. We'll have some photo opportunities. So may we request the honorees, Professor Mimi Chan,